Take it away, my friend.
All right, welcome everyone to your leadership series. So we are super excited. My name is Claudia and today I'm partnering with my Canadian sister, Krista Beakley, and we're excited to bring you a good topic. And I'll tell you what the topic is in a second. But before we go there, please, if you are not muted, mute yourself. We want to kind of embrace where we are coming from. Okay, so it is January and many of us are still coming out of hibernation mode, right? Like who's still here kind of like getting through it? We're kind of almost back to normal, but we're not quite there yet. Ingrid, Marna, can you mute Ingrid, please?
I'm trying, but I can't so far, but let me keep trying.
Okay, Ingrid, if you hear us, your dog's barking, we can hear it, please. Thank you. Okay, yes, mute your phone. There we go, we got it. So, you know, not just us, but your team members, right? Maybe not you as much coming out of hibernation mode, but your team members are just kind of waking up, right? We all had those things that we said we were going to get done during our holiday break, right? Who had like a mile-long list, like this is what I'm going to do when I'm on break, right? We're going to do all the things, and oops, here we are. It's January 16th, and maybe we didn't get anything done, or maybe just a few things, right? But reality is, it doesn't matter. Okay, it's January. It's a fresh new start, and we have to turn up the heat, especially you guys as leaders leading the way, right? So we like to call this our starter soup, okay? January is all about soup at the Pampered Chef. I don't know if you've noticed it. So we want to create our starter soup of the year. Again, we're talking to you guys as leaders, right? We want to create the base. Once we have the base of our soup, right? If you ever made a soup, right? The base is kind of like the hardest part, right? We make the base, that's the hardest part. Then we want to turn up the heat. We want to get it nice and hot. We want to get a nice rolling boil. We want to get it nice and bubbly. And then once we did all this hard work, guess what? We can just keep it on simmer and it can feed us, right? It can feed us for the rest of the year. So we are here, Chris and I want to turn up the heat. And I want you to look at this kind of starter soup. These are all the ingredients that need to go in to have a well-rounded business, okay? Mindset, consistency, time management, outreaches, contacts, talking to people, right? Booking parties, sales, social media, recruiting, developing leaders, and most importantly, developing yourself. So take this, maybe take a screenshot and keep it in front of you and just remind yourself that while you're working, you're always working on the base of your soup first, but ideally you're working on that soup. So hopefully one day it'll just sit there and simmer, okay? And you can enjoy the soup every single day. But the other thing we want to remind you guys before we go into our topic is you probably set some goals this year, right? Many of you guys probably, or if you already have goals set, put goals in the chat. But one thing to remember that for things to change this year, for you to be in a different place than you were exactly a year ago, you have to change, okay? For things to get better, you have to get better. It's not about the goal necessarily, it's about the person you need to be or the person you will become in your journey in order to reach that goal, okay? Because if at the end, like, let's say I just be like, oh, let's see who's on. Cynthia, right? Let's say I gave Cynthia an executive team. I gave you 8 new directors. And I just said, here you go, you're now promoted. You probably wouldn't be able to keep up with it because you're not the person yet you need to be to lead an executive team yet, okay? So just remember that in order, if you want to become an advanced or senior, an executive or national, whatever, you still have to develop into that next version of a leader for yourself. So, all right, Krista, what's the topic for today?
All right. So today we are going to talk to you about 10 things that successful leaders do, or 10 things that successful leaders are. We have a little combo here for you. So I'm going to start it off with number one. I don't want to say any of these are more important than any everything else, but we got to start at the beginning and set some clear goals, right? So as a leader, you need to know personally what you are working towards. What does your personal business look like? How many parties are you doing? How many new recruits? Social media goals, all of your personal business goals, your career plan advancement goals, your trip excellence awards, any of those personal goals that are relevant to your business. And then you need team goals. So sales, recruiting, how many trip achievers do you want to have on your team this year? How many people do you want to help move up the career plan? You know, monthly, especially for newer directors or smaller teams, how many people do you want earning the monthly sales incentive? That's a great goal to have for your team. And you guys know one of the jobs as a leader with Pampered Chef is to create a vision so clear that others can see themselves as a part of it. So what's your personal life vision? What's your business vision? What's your business for your vision for your team? And how do all of those things fit together? Sometimes we forget that, right? Or we set goals. We're like, yeah, I want to earn the trip this year. Or I want to be a senior director, but it has to fit in with a bigger vision for yourself and for your life. And hint, your life vision is not to be a Pampered Chef consultant, right? Or to be a Pampered Chef director. It's got to be much bigger than that. What kind of life do you want to live? So if you don't know this, that's step one. And one of my favorite activities to do is to journal that out. So sit down with a drink of choice and a pen and paper and think about what you want your life to look like. Where do you live? What does your house look like? Right? When you look out your bedroom window in the morning, what do you see? Do you see mountains? Do you see a beach? Do you see a farm? Do you see a big city? What do you do every day? What does your body feel like? What does your business look like? What does your team look like? How many consultants do you have? How many leaders are on your team? Where are you in the career plan? How much money are you making? Like all of those things need to be clear in your mind. So get really, really, really clear, and pen to paper, guys. There is a mind-hand connection that you need. You need that pen to paper and just free write. If you've never done that before, it can be really hard to get going, but then you just go. Okay. So, and then you need to communicate your vision to your team and decide how they fit in. Okay. So, executive team, that's where you're headed. You need 8 people at least who want to change their life, who want to grow their business. How do they fit in? The people who don't want to be directors, how do they fit into an executive goal? Every dollar counts, right? Being a part of that bigger goal is really important. All right. And then I would highly recommend, if you haven't read it recently or ever, read The Energy Bus. That is an amazing book. Our leadership team is based around that book. It's amazing. So then once you figure out what your goals are, you need to break it down and make a plan, right? It's not just good enough to say, I want to be senior director this year. What does that mean? Okay, first, I need 3 first-gen directors. That's got to be the starting point. So that's 1 director a quarter. How many recruits do you need to promote 1 director a quarter? Do you need 10 to 20 to find a director? That 5 recruits a month? What do you need to do that? What are the daily actions you're going to take? It's not enough to set a goal. You have to take it step by step and create an action list that you will follow through on. Because it's really easy to say, I want to be senior director this year, so I need 3 directors. Well, what does that even mean? If you recruited 5 people all of last year, you're not going to get there, right? You need to make a change this year. All right, Claudia, back to you, my friend, for number 2.
Yes, and these are in no particular order. Okay. So step number 2 is leadership principle number 1 at Pampered Chef, right? Is lead by example. Okay. There is unfortunately no way around this, my friends. All right. Do the things no matter what. If business is good, you do the things. If business is bad, you still do the things, okay? If life throws you a curveball, you still do the things. Do the things no matter what. Have your like base things that you do, that you can do day in and day out, no matter what life throws at you, even if it's minimal, okay? You should have like a base list of things you can do in like 30 minutes, right? You should be the first one to sign up for conference. Okay, you should be the first one that if your director says, "Hey, who wants to lead this training?" or "We need helpers," or whatever, you should be the first one to sign up so your team can see you. If they see you show up, their belief in you is reinforced, right? If there's training calls or whatever your team does, right? You should be on those Zooms every single time. You should be taking screenshots of your team members that are on and being like, "Oh my God, Steve, I see you. Hey, Holly, I see you on this call." You should be joining every training and looking for your team members and giving them a shout out, but so that they know that you are there watching to see if they show up. Okay, so be first. Be present on the calls, right? If I'm attending a call and I'm over here like this on my phone, not paying attention, like, maybe I'll pick my nose or whatever, right? They're watching you, okay? Your team looks for their leader and sees, is that leader paying attention on this call, right? So be present, pay attention, have your cameras on, lead by examples. Do the things you need to do even when you don't feel like doing them, right? So that comes from a great book as well with Rory Vaden, right? But at the end of the day, when you're leading by example, you have to do the things you don't want to do, right? None of us always feel like doing all the things all the time. Sometimes we have to force ourselves. Now, does that mean you have to be the best? No. Does that mean you have to do more than everyone else? No, okay. It just means that you have to show up consistently so your team sees that you are doing the things you're asking them to do. And when it comes to showing up, I believe that your presence on social media is also going to help you, because not only are you on social media for your new customers, your current customers, and so on, you are also present on social media because your team follows you and watches you. Okay, maybe you go live so that inspires them to go live. Maybe you share kitchen tips so they have something to copy. Maybe you take a screenshot of a leadership training that you're on and show the support that you have, and that encourages them to do the same thing. When it comes to leading by example, my question to you today is, what are you committing to doing? What are you going to consistently do the first quarter of this year, January, February, March? What is your plan of action that you are going to commit to doing no matter what? What recognition are you doing for your team? What trainings are you providing, or what trainings are you sending them to? Whether people show up or not, you should stick to something for a good 90 days. Show up for one person on your team like you would show up if there was 100 of them. If you build it, they will come. You're not building the change right now for your current team. You're building things for the future team that you want. Okay, so what are you consistently going to do and keep doing in January, February, and March? And that goes for whether there is a recruiting special or not. My friends, I hate to break you the news. It doesn't matter how cheap the kids are. You can recruit every single day. Doesn't matter if they're $25 or $250. You can recruit every single day. You can do recognition every week. You can find something to recognize someone on your team, whether they're selling or they're not selling, or they're showing up or they're not showing up. You keep doing the things no matter what. Okay. If Pampered Chef tells us tomorrow that we are now back to 8-week shipping like we did in the pandemic, we still do business like it was before. Okay. So stop changing things because maybe one person said that this is the new way. And then you come on this call and this person says they do this on this day, right? Like, stick to what it is that you want to do to achieve your goals no matter what, by leading by example. The other thing you can do if you're struggling with how to lead by example is simply, I always say, pretend like your team is sitting on your shoulders. Like right now, if they were to watch you work, would they want to follow you? Or are we just showing up because we think people are watching us, right? Like, are you showing up the same way? Like if I were to come and sit in your office for a week, would you show up the same way? Or would you work differently because now somebody's watching you? You know what I mean? So one thing you can do, especially if you're a new director and you're like, I don't know how to lead my team, just show them what it is that you're doing. Have a group chat with them. If you just booked a party today, go in the team chat and say, oh my God, this is how I just booked my one party. This was Susie. She was in the party. I sent her booking message. She ignored me. I sent her a follow-up and then I sent another follow-up and then she said yes. Show people how you're doing your business. Maybe you didn't get a party. Maybe you just got 10 no's and you go and show your team a screenshot of all your messenger that just says, nope, 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 nope. I do that all the time. Look at how many no's I woke up to this morning, right? So show them that you get no's too. Maybe you got an order, celebrate that and be like, I just went live and I talked about the air fryer and yay, look at that. I just got an order. Who's gone live today? At the end of the day, when you're leading by example, all your team wants to know is that you are doing the things that you're asking them to do so they can follow. And think about that when it comes to your own leadership, because chances are you're probably one of two ways in this scenario, okay? You either A, you have a great leader in this business right now. You love them, you adore them, you follow them. They say jump, you jump. You know what I mean? Like you absolutely want to be like them. You admire them, you value their opinion, right? That's option one. Or number two, you have an absent leader. Maybe your recruiter isn't showing up and doing the things that you wish they did, right? Maybe they're just not your cup of tea. I don't know, right? Maybe they lead different than you would want them to lead. So maybe you don't want to follow them, right? So remember that, because sometimes the people that wish they had a leader that would do all the things, take that and say, I'm going to build my team the way I wish I had a leader to follow. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Lead by example. Number 2. Krista, on to you.
Awesome. All right. So I'm going to talk about something that I think is what I call a superpower, and that is having a growth mindset. So a growth mindset basically says that you can learn all of the skills that you need to be successful, and challenges and failures help you grow. So leaders with a growth mindset will ask themselves, well, you can see some of the things on the screen, but they'll say, like, what can I do to get better at this? What skills do I need to learn? Leaders with a growth mindset are inspired by other people's success. So if you've ever felt yourself feeling discouraged by other people's success and why can't I be like them, that's on the fixed mindset side. So with a growth mindset, instead of saying something like, I'm not good at that, you would say, how can I get better at that? And when you adopt a growth mindset, you're not going to be discouraged by setbacks and failure. You won't feel like you're failing. You'll feel like you're learning. You're going to ask yourself, what can I learn from this to do better next time? Okay, I didn't hit my goal last month or last year or last quarter. What am I going to do differently this year in order to do that, in order to hit my goals? And like, I seriously call this a superpower, because this applies to everything in your whole life. You have made it this far in life. You can do anything. You can learn anything. And especially when it comes to this business. So I have a 4-step process to having a growth mindset. So step 1 is to hear your fixed mindset voice. So pay attention to what's going on in your head. And when you hear things like, I can't, I don't like this, I'm not good at this, pay attention. The second step is to recognize that you get to choose. So you get to choose to listen to that voice that says, I can't, or you get to choose the next step, which is to turn it around. And the way that I like to do that, especially when it comes to a skill or your voice saying, I can't, turn it around and say, I don't know if I can, but I'm going to learn what I need to do to make it happen. I might not be able to do it in this moment, but I know I can learn what I need to learn. Okay. And number 4 is to take action. So that's probably the most important step. You have to then take action, physically move your body, physically take action on what the next step is. All right. And a little bonus tip before I pass it back to Claudia is I like to name my fixed mindset voice. So you can give it a name because that is not you. That voice that you hear in your head saying, this is scary, this is hard, I can't do this. That's not you. That's you observing that voice. So I like to give it a separate name so that you can say like, okay, get out of here, whoever your voice. I don't want to name it because somebody on here probably has that name, but you can recognize that it's like somebody in your life telling you things that you don't want to hear. And you can say, get out of here. I'm moving on. All right. Okay, Claudia.
I love that. We're all going to name our not so nice voice. That is new to me. I love that. Thanks, Krista. See, always learning. All right. Number 4 is personal development. Okay. In order to grow your leadership, you must personally develop. I always say that this business you're in is literally a personal development program with a compensation plan. Okay. They literally, the more you personally develop, the more money you make pretty much. Right. So I want you to think about who is a leader, whether it's in Pampered Chef, in another industry in your life, or something else that you do that you admire, right? Who is someone that you admire outside of your team, inside of your team? Could be both, right? Could be either or. Just start thinking about some people and jot them down. And I want you to watch them, like put on your leadership hat when you watch them and watch what they do. How do they make people feel? Do they make people feel valued? What kind of energy do they bring to the table? Like start observing the people you look up to so you can be like, oh, I like when she makes me feel like that. And then you can be like, how could I make my team feel like that? Do you see what I'm saying? The other thing you can do is instead of like, if you're using Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, instead of following celebrities, okay, or people that really don't give you any value, start making your social media platforms and the people you follow, start making that your professional and personal development. You can follow authors, okay? You can follow like someone like Mel Robbins or whatever, like find your people that you want to follow. Follow industry leaders, okay? Follow, there's tons of like outside of Pampered Chef coaches or people that you can follow, but you can also follow other consultants. I follow a ton of other consultants for inspiration and ideas, right? There's tons of people that train in, in the industry that we're in, but my big tip is follow only 2, okay? Because if you follow too many, you'll start hearing different things and conflicting things. Not that one is wrong or the other one's right, but you do want to stick to like 1 or 2 people that you feel very connected to. Okay. So as you're following some of these people, your leaders, other people in other companies, whatever, ask yourself, what are some leadership skills that you admire that these people have? Really start paying attention to what it is that they're doing, and then ask yourself, how could I start developing that type of leadership skill? What could I put in place to be more like this person since I admire him or her, right? And the other big question I have for you guys today is, as a leader, how do you show up when business is great? Your team is booming, everybody's got bookings, we're promoting directors, we're making lots of monies. Like, how do you show up when that happens? And how do you show up when business is not great? Or do you show up when business is not great? Ooh, I might have just gotten some of you guys. You're like, oops, you got me, right? It doesn't matter, okay? It should be the same thing. You should show up no matter, again, we're going back to show up no matter what. If your team's doing great, maybe you show up a little more because you're extra excited, but you definitely want to show up when business is not great, because if you don't show up when business is not great, your team is for sure not showing up when business is not great, right? Make sense? So we have some leadership book recommendations for you. We kind of like pulled our top 4. We kind of went back and forth. So I'll put them in the chat, or actually Krista's going to put them in the chat. Number 1, The Leader's Greatest Return. Number 2, Dare to Lead. Number 3, Develop the Leader Within You. They're in the chat too. And number 4, The Leader Who Had No Title. Don't let your title define who you are. director, advanced director, that literally matters nothing, okay? A director could show up better than an executive director. The title doesn't matter, all right? So when it comes to personal development, what is your plan this year? What are you going to do? What programs are you going to invest in, or books or things to help you personally develop? You have Empower coming up. I sure hope all of you guys are registered, okay? Put Empower in the chat if you are. You have conference. Again, the leaders got to show up. If you don't go to conference, your team's not going to conference. It's pretty much a done deal, okay? Your team wants you there. And number 3, maybe your upline has a leadership retreat, right? Some people do, some people don't. I think all of you guys on this call probably do. So what is your plan? Where are you going to invest to help you become a better leader? And the big thing is, when you are, I know many of you guys, and we have them too, we are in circles of people, right? You have a circle, you have your buddies in this business. You should never be the smartest person in the room. Okay, if you are in a group right now and you're like, yeah, we're friends, we're all cool, but you kind of feel like maybe you're outgrowing them. Maybe they're still thinking that they might quit tomorrow and you're like, I'm never going to quit. You know what I mean? Then you might want to find you a different circle. In your career in Pampered Chef, you are going to go and move into different circles. So you should never be the top person in the room. You should always have someone that kind of stretches you. So you want to level up your circle every single year, okay? Because at the end of the day, you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with inside of your business and outside of your business, okay? And I'm just going to embarrass myself for a second. I'm going to take one for the team and I'm just going to put it in the chat. And when you want to laugh at me, you can, okay? I have a very, very, very old video of me talking to my team when I was a director. It's pretty embarrassing, okay? But I want to share that with you guys, because many of you guys, you see your leaders on calls like this now, you see them on stage and you're like, I wish I could be like them. We didn't all start like that, okay? Like, we all have to kind of grow into that, and we all have to have some embarrassing videos along the way, or what we think is embarrassing now. It wasn't embarrassing back then. Do you know what I mean? So I'm gonna put it in the chat. So you can, I'll take one for the team and hopefully you get inspired. Krista, back to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Claudia. All right. Number 5 is gratitude. And let me tell you, learning gratitude changed my life, and starting your day with gratitude is going to set the stage for your entire day. You guys might have heard this before. You can't be grateful and fearful at the same time, right? So being grateful for what you already have opens you up to receive more. You can't work from a place of fear and lack and scarcity and expect to get what you want. Being grateful allows you to see all the good that's going on, right? It's that red car theory, right? Or if you've ever bought a new car and then all of a sudden you see all these people are driving the same car, it's because your brain has been tuned in to notice it. Same with gratitude. When you're grateful for all the good, your brain is going to be tuned in to finding the good. And we can all relate to this. Imagine a day where you focus on what's not going well. We've all had those days, right? You're like, my team's not selling, the flop parties. Oh my gosh, this recruit lead said she was going to sign up on Friday and now she's not responding to me. How do you feel? You can put it in the chat. When you think about a day like that, where it kind of starts off yucky and you're focused on all those things, maybe somebody quits, right? Another host cancels their party. How do you feel? Stressed and overwhelmed, right? Yeah. How motivated are you to keep going? Like, how often do you feel like that and go, okay, I'm going to get on the, no, you usually are like, you know what? I'm going to go and I'm going to go shopping today, or I'm going to go watch TV, or I'm going to take today off. Today's not a good day, taking the day off, right? How confident do you feel? Now, if you imagine a day where you're focused on same results, okay? I want you to think about this. Nothing has changed, except today, you're going to focus on the people that are selling. Oh, look, Susie put in a $48 order yesterday. Awesome. Oh, Claudia's posting in her party. Look at that. She made the post I asked her to do. Awesome. I'm going to go find some recruits that I haven't met yet. Got to go talk to some people. How do you feel then when you focus on that? Now, sometimes, here's the thing, it's not necessarily that you feel amazing and positive, but it might make you feel hopeful, right? It might make Amber, good job. It just brings you out of that negative place into a hopeful place. Sometimes it's not about going from discouraged to like on fire, ready to go, but it gets you into a hopeful, purposeful, love that place where you can at least move forward and take some action. Okay. It's not about hiding what's negative. It's not about pretending it's not there, but it's about appreciating what you have and choosing to focus on that rather than focusing on what's lacking. So if you don't already have a daily gratitude practice, I want to encourage you to start today. And again, pen to paper, start your day by writing out 3 things that you're grateful for. And I really encourage you to dig into this. Okay. It's easy to say, I'm grateful for coffee, and I'm grateful for my family, and I'm grateful for the sun. Like, okay, great. That's awesome. And some days that might be the best thing, and that's okay. That's fine. If that's every once in a while, if you've got a day where you're like, you know what, today I'm just grateful I'm awake, then great. But I really want you to think about it and get really in touch with how you feel. What makes your heart beat? What puts a smile on your face? What gets you tears in your eyes? And start your day with that. Okay. And whenever you find yourself in a place where you are frustrated, discouraged, negative, go to gratitude. You know, if I always start my team calls, and sometimes it's a little painful because I say, what's good today? And people sit and stare at me and they're like, I don't know, nothing. Well, how good is your day going to go if you are not looking for something good to start your day with? So what can you be grateful for in this moment, and what can you focus on? And Claudia is going to continue that with talking about some positive attitude and energy.
You know, sometimes you just got to be grateful for your coffee, right? You know what I'm talking about on those days, right? So put in the chat, what are you grateful for today? Like, let's just, you know, I do think, you know, we're going to talk about that. The next step is optimism, positive attitude, or positive energy. Okay. It is so easy to get sucked into the negative things. Okay. I haven't watched the news and I can't tell you how long. I don't need to watch the news. If I scroll enough TikToks, I'll figure out what's happening. Okay. So don't get sucked into the negative stories, even on social media. Maybe, you know, even certain groups, or like, you know, I have this like neighborhood thing and it's always somebody's doing something. I'm like, who cares? Like, if I didn't know about it, I'm still fine. Like, people just find things to complain about, right? So don't get sucked into that and give your energy to like, oh yeah, you know, I can get any parties. Me too. I can't get nothing either, right? This business doesn't work. Like, it gets so easy to get sucked into things like that. And I still do it too. Like, I find myself and I'm like, this is what I say. I'm going to go back in my bubble. I'm going to go do the things I know how to do. That's what I say. I'm going to go back in my bubble, right? So Krista gave you the alter ego voice. I'm going to give you a magic bubble. So when you feel like you're there, you're like, pop the bubble, ignore everyone else. Okay. So there's a story about, you know, having too many crabs in one basket. If you put one crab in a basket, it just crawls out, right? You put another crab in there, or 3 or 4, they start pulling each other down instead of helping each other up, right? They start pulling each other down. So think about the people in your life that pull you down. Oh, you got to be on a call tonight. Really? Can we just watch TV? Oh, you got to work tonight. Really? Can we just go out to eat? You know what I'm talking about, right? Think about those people. Now, some of those people we can't get rid of, right? They're family, but again, you want to be respected and you want to respect the decision. You want your family to know what it is that you're doing. So watch out for those people that might pull you down rather than lift you up, right? You can also unfollow negative people without unfriending them. Did you know that? Because maybe you don't want to unfollow your great grandma or your great aunt from wherever, right? You might not want to unfriend them because then they know that, and that's going to be awkward at the next family reunion. But you can go to Facebook and you just unfollow them. That just means you don't see their stuff. Okay. So I do that a lot. I'm like, it's getting a little negative over here. I just don't need that in my newsfeed, right? So create your newsfeed so it lifts you up rather than tears you down. Because at the end of the day, if you think about, when has negativity ever helped you grow? Never, right? doesn't help anybody. Okay. To just, I mean, I'm not saying we're all positive and rainbows and sprinkles and all that, but it doesn't help us, right? So find your trigger, find when you know it's like, all right, enough is enough. We can't solve this problem, or which a lot of times you also have, maybe with your family or something, you can say, we're just going to agree to disagree on this one, and we're just not going to talk about it, right? So negativity has never helped solve anything or help anyone grow. So optimism, positive attitude, energy, those are the people you want to follow. Those are the people that you want to be more like, that you want to, people to look up to you.
Love it. Thank you. Okay, so I have a reality check for you guys. At some point this year, things are going to go off the rails. Life is going to happen. Things are not going to go as planned. I wish that wasn't the truth, but that's the truth. And so as leaders, you need to be resilient and you need to be solution oriented, be good problem solvers. So again, I know Claudia asked this question before, but how are you going to show up when life happens? We make these goals, right? We're like, I'm going to do 1 billion contacts a day, and I'm going to do 48 parties a week, and I'm going to recruit 10 people a month and all this stuff. And yet we're like, okay, I'll do a little bit of work when the kids are napping, or this or that and the other. But then like Catherine's been sick for a whole week. What can you do? You have to take care of yourself. You have to get healthy. Your kids are sick. They're home from school, right? They don't nap when they're supposed to. They don't go to bed when they're supposed to. Your partner gets called out and has to be traveling for work. And now all of a sudden you're solo parenting, right? All kinds of life can happen. So how are you going to show up? And what are you going to do when that happens? What you can't do is just say, well, I guess I have to put a pause on my business. I guess I have to put a pause on my goals. I guess my goals aren't going to happen. It has to be, what am I going to do to make this happen? Okay. Being green every single month. Every single month you are paid at title. If it's not looking good, it's not, okay, you know what? This month is fine. I'll hit it next month. No. What do I need to do to make it happen? Right? My party average this month is $400. I got to get working on that. I got to do something. What can I do? Okay. Momentum is great. And when you're new and when you have a lot of growth and you recruit a rock star, momentum is awesome, but it can create bad habits because life is easy, right? Like think about fish jumping in the boat. You forget how to cast the line because the fish are jumping in. You got to still cast the line. And a good leader is not about how they perform during good times, but how they show up when times are hard. Seeing failures as temporary setbacks, remaining positive, all of the things that Claudia just talked about, and remembering that the pace of the leader is the pace of the pack. And that's especially true in hard times, because when things are hard, or, it's a time of the year when people aren't booking as much or aren't spending as much, your team is looking to you to know what to do. So when you disappear or you slow down, or when life happens to you and then all of a sudden you're gone for a month, that's what they think needs to happen. So you need to show up even when you don't want to. A good question to ask yourself is, who needs my A game today? And then focus on the actions and what you can control, because you can't control life. You can't control all those things. What can you control? All right. So when you're here, like, you got to look at what's going on and figure out what you can change. And so, for example, you're hearing a lot of no's, right? I don't know what's going on. All of a sudden, I'm not getting any bookings. I'm hearing tons of no's. Okay. Maybe you need to do a little bit more marketing. Maybe you need to go live. Maybe you need to cook in a different vessel for a while. Maybe I got to focus on the deep covered baker and then talk about that. You need to create some desire. When a team member quits, rather than focusing on that, focus on, okay, I'm ready to go out and find my next rock star. Okay. So you can ask yourself things like, what are the benefits of this situation? Or what might I be missing when I'm looking at this? Like, what's another way that I can look at this situation? And then one of my favorite questions is, what story will I be able to tell about this? So things are not looking great now. What's the story I want to be able to tell? Oh, things got hard and I quit. Or things got hard and I doubled down and I learned this and I did that. And here we are today. All right, my friend.
Yes. And sometimes you can also ask yourself when you're going through a tough time, you'll be like, one day I'm going to tell this story, right? I overcame this. Like if you think about any retreats or conference, the people that get asked to share a story are not people that everything worked out beautifully. They're always people that had to overcome something, right? So if you want to be on stage one day, you're probably going to have to overcome something. Do you know what I mean? All right, number 8 of what successful leaders do. My favorite topic, time management. Okay. Successful leaders know how to use their time wisely. They know what they're supposed to do when. They know where they're supposed to be. They're not always reacting to their business like, oh gosh, I forgot to set up this party. Oh gosh, there's a call today in 5 minutes. Oh, let me just score something down and come on this call. Oh gosh, it's the end of the month. Oh no, I haven't hit my goal. Oh God, right? Like that's not who we want to be. People don't want to follow those types of people, right? Time management at the end of the day is it's managing you personally and disciplining yourself to do the things that you said you were going to do in order to reach the goals that you said you wanted to reach, right? You really, as a leader, need to be good at managing your time, whether that is a Google Calendar, a piece of paper, alarms. I mean, there's 50,000 apps out there these days, right? You just kind of have to experiment until you find something that works for you, right? Figure out what is my ideal work week. If everything were to magically go as planned and everyone would just be doing what they're supposed to be doing, and I would get home from work in time and my kids would do the things I'm asking them to do, what would my ideal routine look like? Create it. Because if you don't know what it's like, right, then you're never going to get that ideal routine you're looking for. Get good at that. Figure it out. I've trained on this 100 times. I'm not going to go into details, but I like to just print out a weekly schedule and just jot it all down. Things have to fit on a white piece of paper Monday through Sunday. You cannot be at 5 places at the same time. You cannot be super mom and be at all events and help your husband at his work and bring, dinner for the guys at work and be the super pampered chef consultant. Like we can't do all the things. Okay. So if it doesn't fit on your day by day, week by week schedule, it either needs to go, it needs to be delegated, or something else needs to be adjusted. Okay. So the next time you say yes, just know that when you're saying yes to something, you're also at the same time saying no to something else. So just make sure that your priorities align. And when people say, I don't have time, it's not that you don't have time. It's just not your priority. And that's okay if that's the truth, right? So you need to decide the next time you're like, oh, I wish I could do it. I just don't have time. Is it your priority or is it not? Right? So learn to manage your time so you're being proactive rather than reactive when it comes to your business and your life.
Love it. And if you want a good wake-up call, go into your battery settings and you can see all the apps and how much time you spent on those apps every day. It's a little scary sometimes. All right. Number 9 is empathy. And so empathetic leaders, it's basically treating people how you want to be treated, right? Understanding that there are innumerable things that come into play for people that determine how they behave, how they take action or don't, and why they are the way that they are. And so a visual that I love to use, I know my team has seen this a lot, is this beach ball. So I want you to imagine there is a huge beach ball in the middle of the room and you're over here, okay? And based on your perspective, your senses, your experience, everything, if I said to you, what color is the ball? This ball is red. You're going to say, this ball is red. But these other people, when you say it's a red ball, what are they going to think? What the heck are you talking about? What are you looking at? This ball's blue. This ball's yellow, clearly. Right? So as a leader, you have to understand that what you believe to be true in any interaction, any situation, is your perspective. So just as your team members' reality that they are experiencing in any moment is based on their own. So having empathy and leadership means being able to understand how this situation could be experienced by another person and how and why that person is reacting the way they are. So to be able to help someone through a situation, you have to understand how it feels to be them. And it's not like we say, put yourself in their shoes. It's like putting yourself inside their brain. What could they be thinking? How could they be feeling? So get ready in the chat because I'm going to ask you a question. If you have a team member who isn't replying to your messages, and has that ever happened to anybody? Just me? They've stopped coming to team calls. They've stopped showing up. They stopped replying. Okay, glad I'm not alone. What could you think? Put that in the chat. What are some of the things that go through your mind? Somebody who's like, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to pay off all my debt. And now I'm going to ignore everything that you do. They're not doing anything. I'm doing something wrong. They gave up. They don't want to do it. Yeah, you guys are good. They're checked out. They don't want it, right? What did I do? I failed them. Yes. What have I missed? But if we take a step back and think about their perspective, what could be going on? And some of you tapped into it. Some of you got it. Maybe someone said something negative about their business. Like maybe one of their friends was like, no, you're not. You're not in one of those things. Don't ask me to book a party. Or they asked 5 people that they thought would book and they all said no. They're feeling defeated. They feel like they can't do it. You know what's a big one? They think they've let you down. That happens a lot. And they get embarrassed and feel bad about it. So think about how you would behave differently given those 2 situations, right? If you feel like they just don't want it, or they gave up, or I did something wrong, you're going to behave very differently than if you think, you know what, maybe there's something else going on here. You're going to reach out in a different way. You're probably going to reach out instead of probably ignoring them, right? Being like, well, I'm just not going to invite her anymore. I'm going to delete her from the chat. So I want you to keep that in mind in life. Again, all of these things are great in your whole entire life. But when you're talking to recruit leads, host leads, your team, your kids, your friends, your family, and especially if you feel like there's conflict, take a step back and ask what color the beach ball could be from their side. What are they experiencing? How could they be feeling? It's going to change how you interact with people. Which is great because that's going to be number 10. Haha.
Haha. Yes. And the final best tip we have for you, if you want to grow your leadership, is become really good at creating strong relationships, right? So become a strong relationship builder. For example, are you effectively and consistently communicating with your team? There's this saying that says, where communication lacks, negativity builds. If it's quiet, people are going to start talking, right? What happened to Claudia? Where did she go? Did she quit? Did she go somewhere else? Do you see what I'm saying, right? So are you effectively and consistently communicating with your team? And it's so easy to do these days, right? We don't have to call people. We can do posts. We can do texts. We can reach out to them. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to be responding to your team 24/7. Okay. Don't get me wrong. Okay. Nobody should ever be available to their team 24/7. If you create that behavior, it's going to be really bad. Okay. It actually helps your team more when you don't respond immediately. How many times did you maybe not get to a new consultant as fast as you wish you could? And 5 minutes later, or 10 minutes later, or an hour later, they're like, never mind, I got it. Anyone ever experienced that? Right? So it's okay to not respond because it is faster to get an answer from you, but people need to learn where the resources are and they need to go looking for their answers. Okay. If you want to become better at stronger relationships with your team members, you need to build trust and you need to build confidence and you need to become a servant leader. It's not about you, it's about them. Okay. If you say you're going to do something, do it. If you're telling your team you're going for a big goal, you go for that goal. You go all day, every day until the last minute, even if you don't hit it. You don't just take the goal away because you don't think you're never going to make it. Now, obviously, the goal should be realistic, right? You can't be like, we're going for a national team tomorrow, right? You know what I mean? So if you say you're going to do something, do it. If you say you're going to do a new consultant call next Wednesday, do the call no matter what, even if nobody shows up. If you say you're going to host a spring launch at your house, you do the spring launch and you push it until the end, even if nobody shows up. When I first started doing team meeting, now this was years ago before all the virtual stuff, I would literally have, I think it was like 4 months of 0 people show up. But you know what I did? I still showed up. I still brought out the stuff just in case somebody showed up. And then I would go on my team page and be like, oh my God, this was so much fun. Thanks so much all for coming, you know? And then people are like, oh, I got to make it next time, right? So create some FOMO. If you want to make people feel special, right? And make them feel loved and appreciated, highlight them. Highlight other people's success. Take that new consultant and put her on a call and put her on a pedestal and tell her how she earned her $12.50, and it's an amazing thing, right? Show how maybe this consultant that's been checked out for 6 months and you see them show up on every training call, take a screenshot and give them a shout out. Making people feel special doesn't have to cost you one single thing. Okay? How do you make other people feel in your presence? When your team member sees you, do they feel a warm welcome? Do they, not everyone's a hugger. You don't have to hug everyone, but do they feel like you have a smile on your face? Okay. Smiling is free, people. Okay. If I were to come on here and just train you like this, like it wouldn't be as effective as I'm over here cheering and smiling. All right. How are you making people feel when they're in your presence? Take people along with you, okay? Your goal as a leader is asking yourself, how can I spotlight this person, okay? Even if they do the same thing that you do, I don't highlight myself. I'll go find someone and be like, Krista, that TikTok you made was on point. Can you talk about that on the next call? That was amazing. Great job for sticking to it, right? Melissa, I see that you had 10 no's and you talked about it. I want you to talk about it on the next call, how you overcame those 10 no's and how you still continued. Hey, Pat, I see how you like almost quit last summer and this year you're on fire. What changed? Can you talk about your struggles? Look for people and highlight them. Make them feel special. Okay, that's how they grow. If you're going to an event, if you're going to a conference, if you're going to, I don't know, get together for Empower, if you're going to a meeting, if you're attending a training, like all of you guys right now that have directors on your team and they're not here, but you are, did you personally invite them to be on this call? Did you say, I'm going to the call today. I want you here. Hey, I know you said you were going to be on this call. I didn't say your name, see your name. Is everything okay? Who can you bring along with you? And most importantly, if you want to become strong and building relationships with your team members, empower them, give them an opportunity to shine, give them something that they're a little uncomfortable with so they can grow. Okay. So Krista, close us off.
Awesome. Okay. I want to leave you hopefully with a couple minutes to ask questions if you want. I feel like we've given you guys lots. I hope that you can take this to heart and implement what we've taught you. You can totally transform your leadership, your team, but it starts with you. And at the end of the day, you know what to do, but it's not about that, right? It's about doing what you need to do. Now, what I've learned is that most of us have like an energetic ceiling, I guess we can call it, where we think our ability for success stops, right? We get to that point, I've never done more than 6 parties a week. And so we get to 6 and we're like, oh, that's about all I can handle, even subconsciously. And then we find a way to sabotage ourselves. We let obstacles get in the way. We let small setbacks get us down. Maybe we slow down, we calm down, we stop going as hard because we've hit where we think we can hit. You need to learn to move past that ceiling and prove to yourself that you can do more, that you deserve more, and that you are capable of more. And the way to do that is to just keep small promises to yourself every single day. We've said this a few times. When you say you're going to do something, do it. If you make a promise to your friend, I would bet you keep it, right? But you are the most important person in your life. You are the one that's going to get you where you want to go. So you've got to start keeping promises to yourself. All right, 5 minutes that we can answer some questions. We did it. Jammed a lot in there for you.
I know, I thought we were going to have more time, but that's okay. So put in the chat if you had any aha moments. Again, there was a lot. It's a lot. I'm not going to lie, but you have the replay, you have the notes. Pick one thing. You're like, you know what? I'm really not that good at this yet. What am I going to do to improve it? Okay, we have time for questions. Unmute or put it in the chat.
Yeah, I can put the list of 10 in with the leaders and then we can share it with our teams for sure. Awesome, Brittany.
Any questions? Maybe some specific things or anything that you're like, I'm going to start doing this. It's very simple. I can implement that.
Peggy's going to keep her promises. Good. Ooh, here we go. Lead by example. Good job. Do you have words you can use when you have a team member who's ghosting you to get them to open up about what's really going on? Well, couple things. Do you want to jump in, Claudia, or?
We can both talk about it. So I like to, so if you can, if they've given you an opportunity to figure out who they are, what their goals are, so let's say Krista joins my team. She tells me she wants to make $400 to help make the car payment or whatever, right? So if you reach out and they don't answer, you can just say something like, hey, Krista, I know that when you originally joined, you told me that you wanted to make an extra $400 so you could pay for your husband's car payment. Is that still the case or did something change? That's kind of like my go-to. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Krista.
And if you get to that point and you're still not getting anything, honestly, if I'm going to text, I'm going to just say like, hey, Miriam, are you okay? I'm concerned that you haven't gotten back to me. Just let me know that you're okay. Or pick up the phone. Like a phone call goes a really long way, even just to leave a message and say what Claudia said, or do a voice memo, just a little bit more of a personal reach out, but definitely make it personal.
Voice clips are huge for sure. Build it and they will come. Yes, build your empire, build your house. Your people will come.
I did put in the chat. Let me see if I can still paste it. It's not my full book list, but it's a podcast and book list of mine, some of my favorite stuff. So you can save that. That might help. All right.
Any other questions? We're all naming our negative voice. I love it.
Customers of yours that booked a party, but their host joined and now won't get on a call.
So, for example, I get really
Yeah.
frustrated with people who do not respect my time because I try not to do that to other people. And I get it, things come up. But this particular person, I've been kind of chasing her, and there were 3 people from her party that want to booked a party for this Friday, and I can't get her on a call. She says she wants to, but I don't want to leave these customers with a bad taste in their mouth over the business. And this lady is not doing the things to help her customers. So like this particular thing kind of drives me crazy, and I don't have very good empathy. I'm just being transparent with that.
It's good awareness. That's definitely frustrating when stuff like that happens. And I would be curious if she actually wants to do the business. That would be something that I would be asking. And I assume she knows she has these bookings. I don't know, Claudia, do you have something that you would recommend?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you've reached out multiple times, maybe if she's not answering your Facebook Messenger, maybe you send a text. And then eventually I would say something like, hey, I'm sensing that maybe you do not really want to do this business. There are 3 parties booked from you. So if I don't hear back from you by Monday, I'm just going to assume that something came up and it's not a good time for you to pursue this business. And I'm just going to go ahead and run these parties. But hopefully that is not the case. So hopefully I will hear back from you and I can help you set up these parties so we can help you make some money, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's give them like an out. Sometimes you need to give people an out. You need to give your leaders an out to just be like, sometimes if people are like, I don't need to work, then why do you work? Right? If you don't have to work, why do you work? Right? Sometimes you need to give people an out because then they realize that they're not doing it for you, right? Like you are there, we're there to help our leaders. We do we need them? Of course, promote whatever, but that's not the case, right? Like, I need you to want this business. I need you to want to make money. I need you to want to become successful. You're not doing this for me. I'm here to help you. So if you don't want my help, that's okay. There's plenty of people that will, and I'll focus my energy there. So don't be afraid to give people an out.
Yeah, that's good advice. All right.
101.
Here we go. All right, guys, thanks for coming on. I will share the list of 10 with all the NEDs, and then we can.
And remember, you guys also have the playback. So this was a lot.
Yes.
So you might need to take a Saturday or whatever and take some more notes too.
Yeah.
Thank you, girls.
Awesome.
It was amazing. Next week, friends, on Monday, Amy Conowall will be leading our call. And it's going to be same time, 12 o'clock Eastern time, same link. And I'll get the recording out to everybody, all the nationals, so that you can share the recording. So thank you. I hope you feel like I did, that this was an hour that was well worth your time. So let your executive know or national know that you loved it. And we'll see you next week. Bye, friends. Amazing call.